You're sitting by the window. It's raining outside, and for the first time in weeks, maybe months, you feel something close to okay. Not happy, not healed, just okay. And you don't know why. You didn't do anything different today. You didn't call anyone. You didn't fix anything. The same problems are still sitting in the same corners of your life. The same person is still gone. The same silence is still filling the rooms they used to fill. But the rain is here. And somehow, that's enough. That's. If you've ever felt that, if rain has ever made you feel safer than any person has in a long time, this video is for you. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you're going to understand something about yourself that you've never been able to put into words before. I want to tell you about a specific night. It was about 2 in the morning. I was lying on the floor, not the bed, the floor, because the bed felt too big, too empty. I'd been staring at the ceiling for what felt like hours, and my chest had that specific kind of ache. The kind that isn't sharp, it's just heavy, like something is sitting on you and it doesn't plan on leaving. I had my phone face down next to me because I kept almost texting someone I promised myself I wouldn't text. And then it started raining. Not a soft rain, a real rain. The kind that hits the windows like it has something to say. And I just stopped. I stopped thinking about my phone. I stopped running through every conversation, every moment, every what if. I stopped doing that thing where you mentally rewrite history to see if there was a version where things turned out differently. I just listened to the rain, and for about 20 minutes I felt nothing but the rain. No pain, no longing, no grief. Just the sound of water falling on a city that didn't care about my heartbreak. And when those 20 minutes were over, I felt lighter. Not fixed, not healed, just lighter. I've never forgotten that night. And I've spent a long time trying to understand why it happened. Why rain, of all things, reached inside me and gave me a moment of peace that no person, no conversation, no amount of scrolling or distracting myself had been able to give me. What I found surprised me. Here's something most people don't know. Rain produces a sound that falls almost perfectly in the frequency range that the human brain classifies as non-threatening. Think about the sounds that stress you out. Car horns, notifications, voices raised in anger, someone calling your name in a tone that means something is wrong, silence that feels like it's waiting for something to go wrong. All of those sounds are irregular, unpredictable. Your brain has to keep processing them because it doesn't know what's coming next. Rain is different. Rain is constant. Rain is consistent. It doesn't change its mind. It doesn't suddenly stop caring. It doesn't deliver bad news. It just falls at the same rhythm, over and over, telling your nervous system, without words, that right now, nothing is attacking you. Your brain hears rain and it says, we can rest. And that, for someone in the middle of heartbreak, is one of the most powerful things in the world. Because when you're heartbroken, your nervous system never fully rests. Even when you're sleeping, you're not really resting. You wake up, and for one beautiful half-second you've forgotten. And then it comes back. All of it. Like a wave that's been waiting for you to open your eyes. Rain interrupts that cycle. Rain gives your nervous system permission it wasn't going to give itself. But there's something else happening when it rains. Something that goes beyond biology. Rain gives you permission. When it's sunny and bright and the whole world looks like it's having a good time, there's a kind of pressure. An unspoken expectation to be okay. To be productive. To smile back at the world that's smiling at you. When it rains, that pressure lifts. Nobody expects you to be doing well on a rainy day. Nobody's throwing parties. Nobody's posting pictures of rooftops and cocktails and perfect lives. The world goes quiet. It goes gray. It goes slow. And something in you exhales. You finally have an excuse to feel exactly what you've been feeling. You've been carrying this grief in a world that kept moving. Rain stops the world for a minute. And when the world stops, you're allowed to stop too. You're allowed to sit. You're allowed to cry. You're allowed to stare at nothing. You're allowed to miss them. Not because you're weak, not because you're broken, but because the sky itself looks like it understands. Here is something I've noticed, and I think you've noticed it too, even if you've never said it out loud. When you're happy, truly happy, rain is inconvenient. It ruins your plans. It makes traffic worse. You forgot your umbrella. Everything is wet and annoying, and you just want the sun back. But when you're heartbroken, real heartbreak, the kind that lives in your chest for months, rain feels like company, not sympathy, not pity, company. There is a difference. Sympathy looks at your pain and feels bad for you. Pity looks at your pain and feels uncomfortable with it. Company sits next to your pain without trying to change it. Rain doesn't tell you to feel better. Rain doesn't tell you it'll all work out. Rain doesn't check in after 3 days and assume you should be over it. Rain just stays. It falls for as long as it falls, and it doesn't ask anything from you in return. It doesn't need you to perform your recovery. It doesn't need you to be further along than you are. And when you're heartbroken, the people who sit with you without trying to fix you are the rarest, most valuable people in the world. Rain is always that person. Heartbreak is loud. I know that sounds strange. Heartbreak is supposed to be the absence of someone. How can absence be loud? But you know what I mean. Your thoughts are loud. The conversations you replay are loud. The things you should have said, the things you wish you hadn't said, the texts you read so many times you memorized them. All of it is loud. Everywhere you go, the silence left by that person feels like noise. Rain covers it. Not in a way that makes you forget. Rain doesn't make you forget. It covers the noise just enough that you can breathe inside it, like someone put a blanket over the loudest parts of your mind. And in that quiet, the quiet underneath the rain, you sometimes find things. You find thoughts you haven't had room to think because the grief has been taking up all the space. You find a version of yourself that existed before all of this started. You find questions that actually matter, instead of the ones you've been torturing yourself with. Questions like, who am I, without this relationship defining me? What did I stop doing for myself because I was so busy making room for someone else? What did the pain show me that the happiness was hiding? Rain doesn't answer these questions, but it creates the kind of quiet where you can finally hear yourself asking them. I want to share something with you. After that night on the floor, I started writing during rainstorms. Not journaling, exactly. Just writing. Whatever came out. One night, I wrote a letter. I wasn't going to share it anywhere. I wrote it for myself. But I think you need to hear it. Because if you're going through something right now, I think it might say something you need. This is what it said. To the person reading this in the middle of the night. I know you're tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes, the kind of tired that comes from carrying something heavy for too long, from pretending to be okay in public and then collapsing the moment you're alone, from smiling at the right times and saying, I'm fine, so many times that the words don't even feel like lying anymore. They just feel like breathing. I know you keep going back, in your head, if not in real life, replaying the beginning, wondering where it turned, trying to find the exact moment, the sentence, the decision, the ordinary Tuesday, where everything shifted. I know you've looked at your phone more times today than you want to admit. I know some days the grief comes in the morning before you've even fully woken up, and I know some days it waits until you're almost okay, almost through a whole afternoon, and then it finds you again. I want you to know something. You are not pathetic for missing them. You are not weak for not being over it yet. You are not broken because healing isn't linear and some days you go backwards. You loved someone, deeply. That love was real. It happened, and now it's over, and the part of you that loved them doesn't know what to do with itself yet. That's not a flaw. That's just what it looks like to be a human being who loved someone. The rain is falling tonight. And if you're listening to it, if you've been listening to it, then some quiet part of you is still here, still present, still finding small things that feel like comfort. That matters more than you know. You're going to be okay. Not tonight, maybe. Maybe not this week. But you are going to be okay. People talk about healing like it has a shape, like it's a straight line that goes from broken to whole, and all you have to do is walk it. But that's not what healing looks like. Healing looks like 3 good days followed by 1 terrible one. Healing looks like laughing at something and then feeling guilty for laughing. Because how can you laugh when things are still like this? Healing looks like almost texting them, putting the phone down, picking it up again, putting it down again, going to sleep, waking up, being glad you didn't. Healing looks like hearing a song they loved and it destroying you, and then 3 months later hearing the same song and it just being a song again. Healing is not dramatic. It's not a moment where you wake up and everything is different. It's 1,000 tiny mornings where you carry a little less than you carried the day before, and you don't notice it happening until one day you realize you went an entire afternoon without thinking about them, and that afternoon becomes a day, and the day becomes a week. And somewhere in there, without you planning it, without you forcing it, you came back. Not the same as before. You are never the same as before, but back, present, here, yours again. I want to say something difficult. Some people use the rain and some people hide in it. There's a difference. Using the rain means letting it give you the quiet you need to actually feel what you're feeling, to sit with the grief, to let it move through you instead of around you, to cry if you need to cry, to ask yourself the questions you've been avoiding, to slowly, painfully, honestly face what this loss means for your life going forward. Hiding in the rain means using it as another way to avoid. Another place to sit in the sadness without doing anything with it. To romanticize the grief until the grief becomes your identity. To build a life inside the heartbreak because the heartbreak at least is familiar. To stay in the storm because stepping out of it means you have to figure out who you are now. I am not judging you if you've done that. I've done that. There's a version of heartbreak that becomes a home. And the reason we move into it is because it still contains them, in a way. As long as you're still grieving, you're still connected. The grief is the last relationship you have with the person who left. And letting go of the grief feels like losing them a second time. But here's the truth. The grief is not them. The love was them. The memories were them. The good things, those are yours to keep. But the grief is just the shape that the love takes when it has nowhere left to go. And you can honor everything that was real without living inside the pain of how it ended. Rain falls, and then it stops. Nobody has to convince it to stop. Nobody has to explain to the rain that it's time. Nobody negotiates with the storm. It comes, it does what it does, and then, when it's done, it's done. And the world after rain is not the same world as before. The air is different. The light is different. The streets are clean in a way they weren't before. Things that were covered in dust are suddenly clear. Colors look brighter. The world smells like itself again. That's what grief is supposed to do, if you let it. It's supposed to fall. It's supposed to be loud and heavy and make everything gray and mess up your plans and force you to stay inside yourself for a while. And then it's supposed to stop. Not because you forced it. Not because you distracted it away. Not because you were strong enough to resist it, but because it finished. Because you let it fall completely instead of holding it inside, turning it into something frozen that never moves. The people who are afraid to grieve are holding the rain inside their bodies, wondering why they're heavy, wondering why nothing grows. Let it fall. Let yourself be the storm for a little while. Because on the other side of the storm, and I promise you there is another side, the world smells like itself again, and so will you. If you made it here, if you've been with me this whole time, I want you to know something. You didn't watch a video tonight. You sat with yourself for a while, maybe for the first time in a long time, and that's not a small thing. That is actually one of the hardest things a person can do when they're hurting. The next time it rains, I want you to do one thing. Just one. Sit near a window. Don't put on a show. Don't scroll. Don't distract yourself. Just listen to the rain. And let whatever comes up, come up. Don't judge it. Don't rush it. Don't perform it. Just let it happen. Because somewhere in that sound, in that steady, honest, patient sound, is a quiet that belongs to you. And you deserve to live inside it for a little while. You've been through something real. You're still here. That matters. Take care of yourself tonight, and I'll see you in the next one.